There's power hidden inside all of us. Once you find it, there's no turning back. So choose your weapon, your champion, your challenge, and game on. Summon your strength.
Hello everyone and welcome to Predator Prime Talks at IEM Katowice 2018. It's the World Championship and we are gearing up for the final today. However, our hosts Kelly Link and Axel Toss will be giving you a recap. I'm Brittany Johnson. I will be hanging out with you in the chat. Make sure you get in your questions for our special guests using hashtag Predator Gaming. And let's get over to a guest or host.
Thank you so much, Britt. Kelly Link here, joined by Axel Toss. And I mean, yesterday we saw two amazing matches, Astralis versus FaZe and Fnatic versus Team Liquid. FaZe did beat out Astralis 2-0 and Fnatic beat out Liquid 2-0. So both of these teams are going into the finals confidently.
We're down to two teams, $500,000. Remember that. And again, $400,000 for StarCraft. That's happening right now. But FaZe, Fnatic, there's so much drama oozing out of this entire tournament. These two teams already faced each other, and Fnatic won the first time. But FaZe coming from the lower bracket, they're on a run right now. They're looking really good, so I'm excited to see how the grand finals look today.
I'm excited as well, and like we were saying, guys, it was intense matches yesterday. Let's actually take a quick look at all of those awesome highlights.
First little bit of pressure gets applied. Karrigan's still up for the fight though, playing from headshot. Lives up to the name of it. Gonna find Glaive and the follow-up device. This is the case, the bomb is down. Karrigan lingers closer, and it's Karrigan, the previous captain.
Nails it, he might even get the double here. Not meant to be though, but good trades on both sides.
Back as a result for Fnatic and Twist. He's forced out of the pit by Molotovs and smoke, but he's up for the fight. And not only that, he's gonna get JW.
This has to be second to none if Astralis want this, and mistakes are looking like they're going to be made. Nico is holding his own, he's buying time. 8 seconds, and it's Nico to shut it down. FaZe Clan bring it right back now. They are not letting this one slip at all. It looked like Astralis were going to start running away with it.
Olaf is pulled over towards mid for the moment, but Nico has been waiting this whole time. He's holding the trigger, he's waiting for more. He's calling this out, and there it is. He thought the one tap would work, but it doesn't matter. He's getting a second kill, and straight from above, he gets a third.
Time to look sharp, but he surely gets taken down here, but no, wait. Crims is there, ready and waiting to protect his teammate. 3 kills
at this point, recovers the gun, and now he's got a gun. What? What? How has he not been found? Dupree! How'd you get away with it? You are lucky to be alive, my friend, but he does survive with 3.
First kill on Lekro. They're losing HP themselves, just burning. Burned alive completely. They were both in the Molotov. I thought Nav was taking pistol damage, but actually does burn, and that allows JW to make up all the difference. Steal the last. JW.
No, but with that AWP and with a couple players being able to afford AK-47s, they're going to go for it. This is strong enough to make a dent and at least... Oh, what a shot! The run boost through the smoke, and Olaf finds Glaive, and that might be it. That might be the winning hit.
Momentarily, in they go. One flashbang is all they're going to use, and Golden's able to strike before that even goes off.
Shot again as he slides out from new box. Not a lot of pressure applied to him, so he can do it for a third time, and he'll make no mistake on that. Bomb down.
Indication that this hit is going to come in. He's waiting to do that for the peak, and here it is. It's beautiful. A quick double for Olaf. Falling back, though. Zipnix has them blocked in.
Astralis not waiting, not resting, and Olafmeister could be the monster that lurks in the depths. He waits. He waits. He strikes. Glaive goes down. Zipnix follows, but the third cannot be... A win or lose in this round, and there you go. Karrigan strikes. That's big. Bomb now down. That could be really problematic. You've got to get past him. 20 seconds. The clock is ticking, and they know it. Nico can now start applying pressure too. He's keeping the back line safe for Karrigan. Oh, it's brilliance from him. defends that bomb with his life, and they're out of time. Astralis no longer have the options here.
Trying to open up an avenue back, but he's not going to expect Rain to be there. Free kill. And Rain's still holding those stairs very well.
See the rest of Astralis maybe considering this is the best option here, as Rain has readjusted though. He waits so well. This man is just so calm under pressure. Rain, perfection personified at times on this map. But he has...
Necro goes to peek. There could be a double play here though, because Steel is going to try and sneak out and surprise them. Good play. They had to do something to make the difference up. In fact, he almost goes better and finds Flusha, but nowhere else to hide.
FaZe retain this, they can buy around it. Astralis though on the other side have finally got that little bit of an avenue, that little wiggle room going into the second half if they need it.
Zipnik's trying to hold him from the fall back through the smoke. He needs that kill, but it doesn't come through. So much damage dealt. The nades to follow up in FaZe.
Real key factor here, but the boost comes in. Up and over we go, and Magis gets it. The 2v2 is still very much alive. Rain, and now the 1v2, Olaf Meister. His heroic feats spray painted on the wall on this very bomb site, but he cannot replicate anything there. Astralis keep hopes alive.
We're confident, but instead they just want to go quickly with base. Shuts down the first already. Golden tries to get up on top of the fish pond to see if he can see anyone inside of water, but no one quite revealing themselves. In fact, Twist gets out one better, but it's Flusha that's going to get overrun by Nap.
But timing again will be everything. The hit towards B comes in now, and it's all Nico. 3 big kills for
Any players there in terms of utility. They've only got flashbangs here. They can't flush out the terrorists. Team Liquid certainly with the upper hand here. And as JW starts hitting shots like that, that's lovely. Nap though response. 2-on-2 now. Bomb ticking away. I feel like Liquid have done enough here as JW finds another. Steel is exposed from B, and he'll have to hit this shot. He does, but JW with the AWP was absent in the first half, but he makes everything happen.
That was our highlights from the semifinal matches yesterday. A bunch of intense plays right there, but 5 of them stood out to us. And we need you guys to pay attention because we're going to have you vote on which one you thought was the best. Use hashtag Predator Gaming in chat on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching it, and make sure to let us know which one is your favorite. We're going to go over that right now.
All right, here we go. Our top 5 plays from yesterday, starting off with Guardian from FaZe. Guardian has been absolutely amazing this entire tournament. I think personally, a big reason FaZe is moving on into the grand finals. We saw an amazing sniper shot there. And just Guardian doing what he does and helping them advance to the grand finals, taking out Astralis.
On the other side of the bracket, we have Twists on Team Liquid getting a 3-kill here against Fnatic.
Of course, such tactical plays, very important. Liquid, though, knocked out eventually. Moving on to the next play here, we have Nico. We've seen him in so many of these top plays.
Look at this, though, the patience he has.
Just kind of relaxing, letting him go. Oh, there's a guy over there. There's a guy over here, too. Magic, see you later. FaZe actually was able to 2-0 Astralis to advance to the grand final. Speaking of Astralis, moving on to Dupree from Astralis, and he's able to get a few kills here without too much issue. 1, 2, 3, taking out Olaf Meister. That's Dupree from Astralis. Moving on to
end our top plays here, everyone. We have Golden on Fnatic getting a triple kill here. And remember, guys, all 5 of these, let us know which one is your favorite in the chat. And you can let us know all day because we're going to be playing these throughout all day. And you can win a $20 Steam gift card. But, Alex, what do we have going on today?
Today, here is our bracket. We only have 1 match left. It's a best of 5. It's happening a little bit later. Again, FaZe able to take out Astralis. And remember, they took out Cloud9 earlier, so they had to go on a bit of a longer run than Fnatic, who was able to take out Team Liquid. So we have an amazing matchup, FaZe versus Fnatic. And I can't wait to talk to our 2 guests coming up about this match, because I think this is just oozing with storylines. You got Olaf Meister moving from Fnatic to FaZe. FaZe is basically a dream team at this point. Can they be stopped? I have a lot of questions about this, but I also want to do a quick note about StarCraft. $400,000 on the line in StarCraft right now, basically on the mainstream. In Spodek, in the main arena, StarCraft is going to be happening leading up to the Counter-Strike event. And what's exciting about StarCraft right now is that 11 of the 12 players who were still around yesterday were from South Korea, with only 1 foreigner from Finland, Saral. He actually was able to make it to the Final Four. So now it's just 1 foreigner from Finland, Saral, going up against Classic, Rogue, and Maru, who are just amazing players from South Korea. And right now, I'm looking on the stream, Classic is actually up 2-0 against Saral, on the verge of knocking him out. So I'm sure a lot of people rooting on the last foreigner of the tournament 2-0. So that's a little update on StarCraft. We might talk about that a little bit later, but definitely getting excited for the Counter-Strike final.
Yeah, hopefully we see him finish first. All right, Britt, what you got for us?
Thank you, Kelly. Well, we have 2 wonderful guests coming up. I don't know if you have been able to watch throughout the week. However, today is nothing short of extra special. We have a couple players from Team Renegades coming right up after this commercial break.
There's power hidden inside all of us. Once you find it, there's no turning back. So choose your weapon, your champion, your challenge, and game on. Summon your strength. Predator puts you in the battle. But the fight is all yours. Summon your strength. Predator puts power in your hands. You decide what to do with it.
Welcome back, everyone. I wanted to remind you to hang out in the chat, whether you're watching this at Facebook, Twitch, you're on Twitter. Use hashtag Predator Gaming if you have any questions for your guest. Your question can end up on our stream. Now, to introduce our guest to you, we have two players from Renegades, Ustilo and Azur. Take it away, Kelly and Alex.
Thank you so much, Azur, Ustilo. Thank you guys for joining us here. You guys seem to be in good moods. How has your Katowice been?
So far, so good. I mean, we didn't do as well as we wanted in the actual tournament, but everything like else from that has been very good, I guess, from IEM and ESL. So yeah.
Well, you know, I got to start it off with just asking how you got into Counter-Strike. Was it back in like 1.6 or Source, and how did you guys become a part of Renegades?
So I started in 1.6, so this is going back like 10 years ago. And I started just like playing with friends in high school and stuff like that, and just worked my way up the rankings, and yeah, now I'm playing in a professional team. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I started in 1.6. My brother used to play, so like I was like 6, 7 years old, and he would be on the computer, and every time like he would get up to get a drink or go to the toilet or something, I'd be like straight on there, get as many minutes as I could, and then from there I just kept playing and playing and playing, and eventually I got the call up to go to America with the Renegades.
I love that. We've had a lot of conversations this weekend, and a lot of people mentioning siblings or what have you, and being a potential inspiration for competing. You know, you're growing up with your brother or sister, and you take him out, you want to beat him.
Yeah.
I want to know, guys, was there a moment for you where you're like, all right, I'm pretty good at this game, and maybe you're having some sights on the pro scene, obviously wherever it was at the time. Was there a moment for you guys where you're like, you know what, we're pretty good at Counter-Strike, and each of you can answer individually, of course.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think I was playing in like team in the old scene in team immunity for like I never had any really ambitions to like play professionally. I was playing purely for fun, and then obviously when you're playing for fun, you just enjoy it and keep playing, I guess. So there was a point where I was traveling overseas in an Australian team. Like I kept going to like overseas London and stuff, and I was like, this is actually pretty cool. Like people are getting paid for this, and then I was like, maybe I could like pursue this full time, and I could like grinding more and playing more. And obviously they were already in America at the time because they were like the best Australian team. So I've always like wanted to play for them at some point. And then yeah, Sponge, the old IGL, sort of contacted me at one point and just said, "How fast can you get to America?" And I was like, "Let's go."
Sign me up, book my flight.
Yeah,
Let's
give
do
me
it.
22 hours.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. It was like, get here in 2 days.
Yeah.
Pack my bags and left.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, so for me it was just like, I guess when I was younger, obviously back in school and just playing some of the better players in Australia and just absolutely crushing them just like in games. And that would have been like the first stage, and then obviously playing in the pro scene and getting better in Australia, and then our first international trip and playing against Euro teams and playing quite well. I think that's when I figured out like, yeah, I can be pretty damn good. Yeah.
Was there a game before Counter-Strike before y'all jumped into that were FPS anything at all, or was
no.
that basically the first game that you guys really grinded?
For me, nothing like, I guess I just played like Halo on the Xbox and stuff like that, but just for fun, like just with friends. But Counter-Strike was definitely the main game that I went for, and I was like, yeah, I'm addicted to this now.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Counter-Strike was the first game for me because obviously I was like 6 and my brother was playing.
Yeah.
That's the first like sort of game I ever saw, and ever since I've just been stuck with it.
You started when you were 6 years old. Like,
Yeah, probably like 6, 7, 8,
That's
somewhere
crazy.
around
Well, you
There you
got to
go.
start them young, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you guys have been playing since 1.6, and you guys have been around in the competitive scene for CS:GO for a few years now, and it's gone up and down, right? But the last year that we've seen CS:GO, it had the highest viewership for E-League on Twitch. How do you guys feel about 4 or 5 years, or not even 4 or 5 years ago, but when you played 1.6, did you ever imagine Counter-Strike to be one of the biggest games in the world?
Yeah, I definitely did not picture esports back then with 1.6 like growing to this big now. It's crazy. Like it's being broadcasted on E-League, as you were saying before, and it's on TV, and it's really branching out to people that have no idea about esports, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and it's great to see. Yeah.
I think it's just by far the most easiest esport to watch, I guess.
Oh.
It's like, I think so anyway. It's the most like attractive and like exciting game to watch. It's easy to follow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even if you're not a gamer, right?
yeah,
Exactly,
exactly. If you watch like LoL or Dota or something, even I don't understand what's going on. So, like,
StarCraft.
yeah, or
Yeah, I got
StarCraft.
no idea either. Yeah.
But in CS, it's sort of like just a gun pointing at someone. So
Yeah.
it's easy to follow and it's exciting, I guess. So.
But there's a lot more to Counter-Strike that a lot of people probably don't really notice when they first look into it. What are some of the nuances of a competitive team that you have to pay attention to that lower level players don't?
I'll let you into that one.
You could go all day. There's like multiple strategies, tactics, reactions from what the other team does, and you could go all day, practicing 8 hours a day. There's so many things that lower level players don't actually know about the game, I guess.
Yeah.
They just see what they see on the screen and they judge you off that. But I mean, in the game, there's multiple things going through your head,
Yeah,
and it's like,
communication, strategies, just lots of things.
yeah, there's so many things. That,
And that's what's so fun about it, because going in, it can be pretty simple, but then there's so much strategy that's really deep in there, and it's fun to just be able to explore that, I suppose. And you see different teams come up with different strategies, and that's just another level of competition.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to anticipate, you study your opponents, and you try to anticipate
Exactly.
what your opponents are doing.
Yeah, everything's
Get
just
ahead.
constantly evolving, and then you have to adapt, and then old strategies that didn't work before will start working because everything's just adapting. Yeah, it's a crazy circle.
Do you guys see? There's a play where I think it was Guardian. Someone threw a smoke at him, and he like stepped in front of the smoke and like made the smoke go off to the side so he could still have a clear line of sight. Do you see that one?
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that. It's like, what are you guys doing? It's crazy.
But then that will get counted as well, because now the people are going to
Yeah.
throw that smoke, and they know he's going to,
Yeah.
block it,
Yeah.
and they're going to go while he's looking at the sky. There's all types of. It's just Counter-Strike's always like just evolving. yeah.
Well, you guys, you were playing in the tournament, and I actually want to offer you a refreshment. I know it might have been a long week for you guys. Would you guys like still water, sparkling water, Red Bull?
I'm fine for now.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good for now. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. if at some point you want some water, just let us know. We'll hook you up
Sure.
with some still water. But guys, let's talk about the tournament here. IEM Katowice, the World Championships. But first, I want to ask, what was kind of your preparation coming into this week, and especially how you guys were feeling? I know you guys came through the North American qualifiers. Perhaps you can start there. I guess how your team is feeling in the preparation coming into this event.
So coming into the qualifier, we actually had a different fifth. We had Nafai, who was he's now playing with Team Liquid, but we ended up qualifying with him, and then he obviously went to Liquid. We had it was mutual between us, and we picked up Jacob like last minute, so maybe like 2.5 weeks ago before we left for our overseas trip. And so we've just been practicing a lot, practicing as much as we can, and trying to drill into Jacob because there's just so much stuff to go over. But heading into it, we got pretty prepared, but obviously not as much as we wanted to. But I think we did well for what we came with.
Do you guys live in a team house, have a team manager or a coach or anything like that that helps you train and practice?
Yeah, we have a team house in Rochester, Michigan, Detroit, and then we have obviously the 5 players living there and the coach and manager.
How long
Also
have you guys lived there?
It's almost
It's been since I think August 2016.
It's been like a year and a half now.
Wow.
More, bit more, yeah.
And how is that like living with a
Yeah.
bunch of gamers only CS:GO all the time?
Yeah, especially with about 6 or 7 guys in the house, it gets pretty rough. Especially with this one here just being an animal like he is. But yeah.
It gets like you gotta get used to it, I guess. Coming from like Australia, where most people live with their parents, I guess, at our age, and then going to America and living with like 7 guys in a house, it's like it can be a lot to like deal with, I guess. But yeah.
Was there anywhere else you lived in the United States, or has it just been there? Have you always been at that?
So when we originally joined Renegades, we were actually in Vegas for a little bit.
Ah.
So it was definitely an experience because we were
Smiles there. Okay.
yeah, we were actually put in a hotel, and we were like sponsored by the hotel, and we had like a whole like gaming setup in there and stuff. But yeah, going to Vegas was definitely an experience, but maybe after like a week or 2, you get over it. So
Yeah.
it
After a few days,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, exactly.
Not a place to live.
Do you guys mind talking a little bit about the differences of the scenes in the United States or North America and over in Europe and Australia as well? Is there a difference in the scenes and the attitudes?
Yeah, so I think Australia definitely has the lowest skill cap out of the 3 right now. There's not much, I guess, with the low rate of people just playing. The skill cap can't rise as much because you don't have many people playing. But compared to like Europe and America, where you've got these high tier level players, like in Europe, you've got so many countries, and they're just constantly playing each other, evolving strategies, and just having so many different play styles. So they're just learning so much. And now America, I feel like, is catching up too with especially with Team Liquid and Cloud9 putting up the numbers, and yeah, they're evolving quite quick.
Can you talk about the challenge of that? You know, you guys both coming from Australia. There's conversations with servers. You know, what teams you can play against. Can you really get nice latency to Europe? How can you get proper scrims? And then obviously the decision to go to the United States from Australia. Can you guys talk about that and why that decision was more or less made? Where you consider it important enough to be in the United States to be able to, and I guess you can talk about the reasoning of that too.
Yeah.
I guess basically in Australia you can't play anyone of that like anywhere in the world. I guess you have to play within Australia. That's all the like,
Too high of ping.
yeah, exactly. So you can maybe play like the Asian countries on like 150 ping or something, but it's not like
Maybe West Coast, United States?
No,
not at all.
That's still
Okay.
like 200 ping. Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
so.
Yeah.
It's hard for Australia. Like you either play in there and it's hard to get recognized there, I guess, because you don't play like the Americans or the Europeans ever. Like for these teams going to like these events, it's like massive because like it's their time in in the lights, I guess.
Yeah.
But moving overseas, I mean, yeah, you sort of have to do it because obviously Australia is Australia. There's not much of a scene there, I guess.
If you want to get better, you got to move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it, I guess.
You know-
Okay.
oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, in Counter-Strike, you guys are constantly traveling and moving across the world from Australia to America. Does it ever become exhausting? I mean, going to all these different countries, and how do you balance it out? How do you guys make sure that you're still healthy and fit?
So yeah, it's definitely very taxing. For me personally, going from, like if I was like going from America to Asia to Europe, the jet lag really runs me. So I got to make sure I'm going to the gym all the time, make sure I'm staying hydrated definitely all the time, and eating well. But yeah, it's very taxing. Yeah.
Yeah, traveling sucks. It sucks, but
No, the flight sucks.
Yeah,
Like
also-
going to different countries is great, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about the opportunities you guys have had. What's one of the most amazing things that has come out of being a CS:GO player?
I guess it's just seeing all the different countries. I guess like traveling all over the world, just playing computer game. It's
Where's the best place that you've like gone to go and explore? If you've had the opportunity, obviously you're focusing on Counter-Strike, but after you
Yeah.
win, what do you guys do to celebrate?
For me personally, I think Korea.
Yeah?
Definitely the one to me. Yeah, I really liked that. It was definitely an experience. The people there were great. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I sort of like Sweden. I don't know why, but like something about Sweden was just like, it's just really beautiful, I guess. And like I like the cold and snow and stuff. So like, yeah, I like Sweden a lot.
Back to the OC region and the Australian scene. If we have any ambitious Australian, younger players who are looking up to you guys, would you have any advice for any younger players in Australia if they're trying to, walk in your footsteps and try to really burst onto the scene in Counter-Strike?
All I can really say is just practice, and you have to have a really good mindset. You can't get down or anything like that if something doesn't go your way, and you have to just stay positive. But just practice hard and put in the hours, and like anything else, if you put in the hours, you're gonna get good at it.
Yeah, I think in Australia it's obviously like a lot more difficult to like get noticed, I guess, and so you just can't like keep thinking about that. I guess you just have to keep playing, and if you're good enough, I mean, your chance will come. Like it's just that simple. But yeah, just keep playing, I guess, and don't give up.
Have you? I'm sure you guys have a very large fan base from home. Can you talk about the feelings that you guys have, knowing you have fans back there, and any interactions or any stories about fans from Australia, and feeling that support as you travel around the world playing Counter-Strike?
Yeah, I think some of our Australian fans are pretty crazy. We had IEM Sydney last year, and we had just fans doing like shoeys in the audience, if you know what that is.
No,
Please explain. Can we? I have a feeling we want to bring this onto the set and do it right now.
No.
Okay.
He said it so quick.
If you want to, you can do it. But
Yeah,
we're not gonna.
I won't do it, but if you want to do it, yeah.
Is it on the menu here? Okay. No, go ahead.
So pretty much it's just like you're pouring a beer into your shoe,
Yeah.
and then you drink the beer. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how big is the shoe?
Whatever shoe
Whatever
they
you're
have
wearing,
at the time.
take
Really?
the shoe, pour a beer in there, or whatever.
And you wanted this? You were telling them to do
No,
this?
I definitely did not tell them to do it.
They do it themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do they like wear bigger boots just to be able to?
I mean, if they want to get more drunk, I
Yeah.
assume so, yeah. But
I've never done
it's
it.
definitely not my forte. Yeah. I haven't done it either.
Well, you just mentioned IEM Sydney. That would be the next spot, the next big tournament for you guys, I
Yeah.
suppose. Can
Yep.
you guys talk about events coming up and maybe IEM Sydney?
So for now, for the next like month and a half, maybe we've just got online tournaments, so ESL Pro League, and we've got ECS, so that'll take the majority of our time. But yeah, in 2 months we will be going to IEM Sydney, and yeah, it'll be awesome. Like last year we went, it was great. It was so good to see how many people actually came to IEM Sydney, because in Australia esports is like not as big, but it's growing at a very rapid pace, and I'm very happy to go back. It should be awesome.
Coming from this tournament and going into these online tournaments in IEM Sydney, what is it specifically that you guys are looking towards to improve and work on?
I mean, it's just getting like practice with our new fifth, I guess, because obviously we've Naf left for Liquid, and we've been like sort of struggling to find a fifth, and we got Jacob in, and we're like 4 days of practice with him, and then we went to Ukraine in Star Series, and we came here, so we haven't actually like had a proper 1 to 2 weeks of just practice with him. So I mean, he's still getting confused with like multiple things we're saying, because we call things in the game different than he calls things in the game. So
Synergy is important.
yeah, it's just like
Definitely.
getting those little things just like to click, I guess.
Yeah.
We actually do have a question from the chat. Go05i from Twitch wanted to know, who are the up and coming other teams from your region?
Ooh.
I think the ones that stick out at me would be probably Tainted Minds,
Yeah.
Order,
At this event.
who were at this event also, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, they seem to be the ones. There's definitely a few players in there that have talent to rise further. Yeah.
And is it a common trend that they're probably not going to stay in Australia and move over to different countries to hopefully get better connection?
I definitely hope so. It's like, so for example, like the Brazilians, they came over from South America obviously and came to America, and now they're just growing at a rapid pace. Like they're the best team in the world right now, and they've also got other teams following in their footsteps. So they'll be great for other Australian teams to come to North America and follow our footsteps also. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's interesting overall because, it's important to, I guess, as you said, to move to get the better ping and have better environment for practice.
Yep.
But imagining the Australian scene, what does that mean for the Counter-Strike scene in Australia? Like, is there an ability for teams to stay in Australia to maybe be able to practice together, or will we ever get to that point? Or is it just going to be, you know what, you have to go to North America, you have to go to Europe if you want to compete with the best or what have you?
I think you just have to go to North America. I mean, that's just how it is. Where like Australia is on the map, I guess you can't do anything about it. I think just recently, like a few Australian teams are just starting to get salary, so it's like it's getting up there. But I mean, for Australian teams, you just have to move. I mean, you can't play anyone else there. You can't practice Europeans. You can't practice North Americans. You can't actually like improve, I guess, because you got no one to play. So I guess you just have to move. Like it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Now, in North America, can you tell us a bit about your schedule and practice and scrimming? Do you scrim a lot against Cloud9, Team Liquid, other North American teams? Can you give us some
Yeah,
insight?
so I'll just give you like our daily routine,
Cool.
I guess. So we'd probably wake up about 10 a.m. in the morning, and then
It's a hard life.
maybe eat some breakfast, and then we'll go to the gym maybe for an hour, 2 hours. Come back, it's about midday.
I'm sorry, I just want to cut you off really quick. You mentioned the gym. Is this a team activity? Do all of you go, and how much of a focus is that?
Not all of us, but maybe like 3 of us right now go regularly. Me, myself, and our coach Kassad. And yeah, we take it pretty serious, doing weights and cardio every day. Yeah, and after the gym, we'll get back, we'll chill for a bit, just have lunch and stuff, and then we'll head into practice. So it'll start off probably maybe 3 p.m. and we'll just like have theory session where we just talk about what's been working, what hasn't been working, what we need to fix. And then after that, it'll be like individual practice, which will be like deathmatch, aimbots, watch your own demos, what you can fix on your own game. And then after that, it gets to about maybe 5, 6 p.m. and then we'll start scrimming other teams. Like you said before, Cloud9 Liquid, we'll start playing them for maybe 5 hours and we'll finish at about 11 p.m. So yeah.
Well, when you guys aren't playing 12 hours of CSGO and watching and talking about it, are there any other games that you guys actually enjoy right now and playing?
Yeah, I mean,
Bit of
I used to
PUBG.
play PUBG
All right.
a lot, and then
Every
sort of
single
stopped.
player has said PUBG.
Yeah.
The trend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PUBG.
Why PUBG?
It's just, I think it's just fun, just relaxing, just to chill with friends. Also, obviously playing, like I love playing with my friends from Australia in PUBG. So it's just a relaxing game. I feel like
Just a fun game.
it's just to get away from CS. Also, playing so much CS maybe can burn you out every now and again. You play a different game and can bring it back to life, I guess. But yeah, PUBG and Dota, those are my two.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I have another question from the chat, actually. Kappa Wild asked, what's your best moment that you've had under the Renegades banner?
Under the Renegades,
You could say something in game or even just traveling around, like outside of the game, something you've experienced
I think-
traveling.
Yeah, traveling is definitely one up there. But I think last year when we won Star Series
Yeah.
in China, when we beat
Yeah.
Virtus Pro in the final, yeah, that would have probably been. That was our first big win as a team, so that would probably be our most memorable moment for now, yeah. For me anyway.
yeah, I'd agree. But also, like just like 2 weeks ago, we made like a playoffs of like our first tier 1 event, which is like we've never done it before, so it's like sort of like a big like weight off our shoulders, I guess.
Right.
So that's like obviously winning Star Series was, yeah, it was good, but in Ukraine just last week was also like a cool moment, I guess.
Well, Kappa Wild, thanks for the question, Kappa Wild. Keep the questions coming. Brittany's going to be watching those. Guys, I want to get back to IEM Sydney. I mean, you're going back home. Are you going to go to Australia a little bit sooner to boot camp or what have you, or is it back to the United States, chill there, and then can you talk to us about?
No,
your
I think
travel?
because we obviously have online matches and stuff
Sure.
to play,
Oh, yeah.
so we're going to be playing that, and then we're going to obviously go to Flight IEM Sydney. But we're hoping that maybe we have a few like a week after to just go back and visit like see
Not
our
a week,
family and
but
stuff.
a few days. Just
Yeah, a few days
'cause
maybe, because we have like if we qualify for Pro League finals,
that's all
it's like a week later, so it's going to be hard. But hopefully we have like 2 to 3 days to go actually back and see our
See our
families and
families and
stuff.
stuff.
'Cause
Yeah.
we
To
never really have time to see
To
them.
follow that up, though, OMG Blue Panda from Twitter asked, when is your next LAN tournament? Is that
Which one is it?
It would be IM Sydney.
It would be IEM Sydney,
Oh.
unless
Would be.
we have a qualifier for like DreamHack Marseille or something. So that's in France.
What
obviously.
date is that again? IEM Sydney, do you know? Anyone know off the top of their head? Anyone
IM
at all?
Sydney.
Sydney.
Yeah.
It's the start of May, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. I
Okay.
can't
May
give you the
5 to
exact,
7. I think it's
uh,
May 5 to 7.
So I know about a Counter-Strike tournament in Michigan, actually. You said Michigan, right?
Yeah.
You know Gamers for Giving, the LAN, big LAN event? Hiko's been there.
I've got no idea.
Okay, it's April 28th. Maybe look into it. There's a Counter-Strike tournament
Yeah.
there. I don't know how
Yeah.
close that would be to you.
Okay.
You mentioned your family, guys, and can you talk about that, your family, how they think about all this, and what it's like being away from home, and you miss your family at all?
Yeah. Obviously, at the start, it was like at the start as Counter-Strike, they were obviously like really against it. They didn't think there was any money in it. There was no future or anything like that. So like they would always try to get me off the computer. And as soon as they realized there was like a bit of, you can actually have a future with this, they were all for it. And now like my parents who don't even know how to use a computer are now watching my games and like texting me all the time and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it's really cool. But obviously being away from home for so long, we only get to see them like once or twice a year for like a week or two. So it's like, it sucks, but at the same time, like we're doing what we love. So
I actually have another question to follow that up. Sam CSGO from Twitch asked, when was the first moment you knew you could actually make a career out of Counter-Strike?
Ooh. For me personally, I guess it was probably when we got our first contracts, I guess, when we first joined Renegades. Back then, the salaries weren't still a big thing. And when that came in, I was gobsmacked. And it obviously, like Carla was saying before, our parents maybe weren't so appreciative of us playing the computer so much. Especially me when I was younger in high school, I'd sneak, like I'd wait for my parents to go to sleep and I'd still be playing. They'd wake up at 3 a.m. and just.
I think we've all
Been
done
there.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, back then when we got our first contract, yeah, that was probably it. And yeah, my parents were definitely a lot happier since then.
You know, we were talking a little bit about how you guys are going to be going to IEM and how you guys have a lot of online matches. What are the main differences between online matches and then playing in on a stage setting?
I guess it's just like that people's comfort levels, I guess. I mean, I feel like there's obviously a lot more like pressure when you're playing on LAN, I guess. There's like obviously spectators and stuff like that. People take the games a bit more seriously. But I think it's just like, people get comfortable in their homes and, you know, they can do what they want and they just feel comfortable. And at LAN, it's like a new environment, a new setting, and and they feel uncomfortable and maybe they get a bit nervous and then that affects their play. And then, yeah, so it's like.
Do you guys prefer to play online over playing at a LAN setting?
Definitely not. I think playing on LAN is the environment, just like, and especially having crowds, it just
Being on
really
stage.
gets the adrenaline pumping, and it's
just, it depends on ping as well. Like if you're
Sure.
where you live, you have, you know, 5 ping and then the other guy has like 60 latency and it's like clear disadvantage. So it's like, yeah.
Now, speaking of LAN here at IEM Katowice, I'd like to go through your matches, actually. You guys barely fell to Astralis, and then you took out Avangard, then you fell to Cloud9. If we could start with that match against Astralis, if you guys don't mind. How did you feel about that coming in as your first match? And, you know, obviously it was close, but can you talk us through that match?
Yeah, so against Astralis, I think myself personally, I think going into the match, we were pretty confident. I think to say they just picked up a new fifth, so they're not the strongest right now. And yeah, we had a very good game plan our coach made, and we started real strong going into that game. And we had a really good CT half. And then coming into our T half, I think the inexperience with Jacob and not getting as much practice and really came into effect there. So yeah, I think what we did a really good performance, but it would have been nice to get the W.
How long before did you know that you guys were going to be facing Astralis at Katowice?
I think it might have been a week, maybe.
So were you guys like specifically studying their strats? And
Yeah,
everything?
definitely.
Not so much us, it's more so the coach.
Yeah.
He has like a set game plan and then he comes to us and says, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. And then we just, you know, sort of just do what he says.
Can you talk through the specifics there of that Astralis match, if you don't mind? What were you kind of looking out for, and what was more or less your game plan, in particular on the CT side?
So on the CT side, our coach he obviously studied their old games, and he said he sort of noticed that when you play close up in ladder and close T mid, and you just like sort of aggressive, they don't know how to really like deal with it. Obviously they do, they're a world-class team, but like that's how you beat them. So we were playing like 2 in ladder, 1 close mid. We were just getting in their faces a bit.
Yeah.
And they sort of just couldn't do anything about it. So I guess, and then we got 11 rounds on the CT side like that. And then obviously the T side's another story.
So you guys were up 11 to
11-4.
Yeah.
And we,
Yeah.
choked.
T side was a little bit harder.
But that next match
happens.
against Avangard went a lot better. What was the change from day 1 to day 2 going into that?
Nothing too much, to be honest. We just had to go on with our own game. We actually lost to Avangard at the major qualifier a little bit earlier in the year, so we wanted revenge for that, definitely. So going into that, we didn't want to underestimate them at all and just give our A game, and that's what we went in. And yeah, we went in strong and got the W. For that, yeah.
Can you guys talk towards the difference between having a week to prepare and then in a tournament environment when you have match after match after match? What's the process there for you guys, and how quickly can you, or what's the process as far as when you know what match you have, and then what's the process for you guys in deciding what your strategy is going to be? I guess obviously involving your coach as well.
So I guess Astralis, obviously having that week, we had a lot of information on them compared to Avangard, where we had to play them 3 hours later. So we got the comparing it from Australis, we had so much time. In that 3 hours that we had against Evenga, it was very limited. So we just had to go in and just play our game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not as much specific study.
Yeah, not as much like
with not as much time.
yeah, not as much like anti-stratting as to say. Yeah.
And then you guys run into Cloud9, and you mentioned you scrim against them all the time. Can you talk about, I guess, the time leading up to that match against Cloud9, how you guys were preparing, and how you felt going into that matchup?
Yeah, I think we made it hard for ourselves losing to Australis. Obviously, we had to go to the lower bracket and fight all the teams there. And we got Cloud9, which is like
it's brutal, right?
yeah,
Like
it's the major champs. So I mean, they're like in amazing form, I guess you could say. But what was the first match we played? Cash. We should have won. Cash is a long story.
You can tell us, give us a
Cash is like our most comfortable map, I guess. We feel most like confident on that, and then for some reason, it seems like everything they'd done that game just had they had the perfect reads. When we'd go over mid, they'd boost, and when we went A, they had like 4A, and I don't know. We're like something went wrong that game. I don't know if they anti-stratted us a lot but.
Do you think sometimes being confident on a map or comfortable with it before the game even really starts could probably give you a false sense of security?
I think being confident's always good. I mean, I don't know. That's just how I feel personally. But I think they just came into that game with like a clear game plan and just sort of destroyed us, I guess. And then Inferno was a second map, which we haven't been playing very much. I mean, we play it. We're starting to get good on it. And what was the score? 16-8?
16-8.
Yeah, we sort of just
pretty nice.
Yeah, we beat them 16-8 on Inferno, which was a good feeling. And then
it was pretty convincing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Our last map was Train.
Yeah, what happened on track? I can't remember what happened.
Train, we started T-side and against Australis, our inexperience with our new player and just it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all, yeah.
So they sort of smashed us on the first map. We smashed them on the second, and then the third they smashed us.
Well,
There's no really close games.
Yeah. We have a new map for you that we're going to make you guys play. Who would like to go first?
You can, bro.
You're up.
Go first.
Let's do one of the boots to decide.
We've actually had a lot of players come up here, and you're going to be joining Brittany up on the laptop right there.
Yep.
It's an obstacle course, and the fastest time we have is 47 seconds, I believe.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm gonna volunteer you to go first.
Enjoy.
And we might give you a second run through. You can do it once and then try it again. So, but still, this is take this very seriously here at the World Championships, IEM Katowice.
So it's pretty much just an obstacle course. There's going to be 2 parts to it. Once you pass the red line, that's when the time starts.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you want to get the settings down, your sensitivity or anything, please feel free.
Nah, this will do. I'm sure.
All right.
I'll be fine, I think.
He likes it.
Hopefully.
Here is our wonderful obstacle course. The time has begun. No pressure. Lots of pressure.
Come on.
Don't be nervous.
This is slow.
Don't fall in the water. You don't want to fall down.
Azo, do you ever see yourself playing any of the custom maps on CSGO sometimes to relax?
Maybe not so much anymore, but definitely when I was younger, just having fun, I used to play a lot of this. Yeah, surfing, definitely. That's actually how I started in CS.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, barely made it.
Yeah, that was close.
All right.
He's doing pretty well. I don't think he's fallen off yet.
Okay, so shoot the sign.
I have to shoot it.
Oh,
yes, and it's going to open the door to your right.
To the right.
To your right. No.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
He's doing pretty well.
And this is the last half of the obstacle course here.
How am I supposed to...
Okay. Slow and steady. Oh. Okay. Slippery barrel. Now we got the spinning circle of squares and rectangles. That's what I'm calling it.
Spinning
Oh,
circles,
come on.
squares, and rectangles.
I mean,
too
I
small,
can't even
too
see
small.
You have a better
There.
okay, and now
Yeah.
onto the platforms, and now onto the slippery spheres.
Oh, no,
was
you
that
have to
it?
start from the
No,
beginning.
That was so I
You-
failed.
Turn
right?
left.
Yeah.
Turn left. No, you're going backwards. Yeah, there you go. Oh, taking damage. We've not had anyone take 29,000 damage.
What?
That was-
Someone took damage?
Yeah, he just took a little bit of
Can
damage.
you die in this?
Well, it's a lot of health.
A lot of
to
HP.
get.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Can you do that one? The rectangle.
Oh,
no,
no, that
missed it.
was the one.
No,
No, it's
can't-
too small.
Oh,
what?
He did it.
ooh,
No
the
one else has
crowd-
done
No, that is not
The
the first time.
crowd.
Oh, okay.
What is good?
All right.
All right, all right.
That was pretty
135.
bad.
Do you think if you could do it again, you
Yeah,
could get
let's-
a better time?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
say
let's
so.
All right.
we'll give him one more run here through this.
And you're getting all this, like, you get
Yeah, I
research
get to
strats.
learn.
That's
Yeah,
what he's like. You know,
exactly.
you go first.
Yeah,
You go first. You
Juggernaut.
go first.
Terrorist.
So who got 47 seconds on this? That's a good score.
Who was it?
Hunanye.
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 That's right.
I got 59 on my third try.
Oh my god.
What can I say? I mean, I did. I'm proud of it. 59 seconds. Oh, it's okay.
This,
The pressure.
yeah, this is bad.
Oh.
It's not jumping, I swear.
I love it. Everyone that does it a second time has a longer time.
Did you guys bring your keyboards?
Definitely not.
Hununanye has the fastest time, I think, through the first run through, but I think one of the guys from yesterday beat his time.
Oh, maybe.
So is it faster time than 49?
I think someone did it in like 30-something seconds.
Really?
Yeah,
We
I
need to
mean,
we need to figure
maybe
that
someone
out
from the chat.
because we have so many prizes to give to the winner. Not really. There's no prizes.
You just
You gotta
Shoot.
get the gun.
Done.
You gotta get the
Really
gun.
done.
Yeah, you gotta pick it up.
Oh. I wonder if you can knife the sign. I'm not going to try it because it'll impact my time. Okay.
So,
Getting to the second half. Getting to the second half of the obstacle course here.
oh no!
Ugh.
Okay.
He could still beat his time. Maybe. There it is.
Oh.
Last part.
Don't
No.
underestimate how slippery those things are.
There you go.
Okay.
Well,
Beat
you
your
did
last
beat
time.
time, you did beat it.
Technically, yeah.
You did.
There you
Okay.
go.
All right, we have to give
Fell
it
off a lot more times.
Okay, Azer, it's time for you to step up to the plate.
Let's do
That
it.
was bad.
Yeah. I gave him so much crap, now there's so much pressure on myself.
Yeah, you have to live up to what you're trolling.
Yeah.
So, Steeler, what are your thoughts on this game you just played?
All right, once you
Ah,
hit
feels
the
bad.
red line.
Yeah.
It was bad. I should have
Did you ever? I was asking
gonna
Azar if
change
you've
one
ever
second.
played any of the surf modes or custom maps. Have you ever done that in
yeah,
CS:GO?
Yeah. In CSGO, not so much. I guess in 1.6 it was
Okay.
also a thing as well. But yeah, in 1.6 I mostly
Yeah.
played that.
Good to
So,
go. As long as you're ready.
Well, something we talked about
Oh,
earlier
geez.
that a lot of like lower level players might just think, oh, it's just aiming at someone's head and shooting them, right?
Yeah.
But it comes down to mobility and like
Yeah.
your playing on this might be able to help you become
Yeah,
a better
for
player.
sure. It can definitely. Surf maps, I think, like obviously help you a lot in your movement and your just everything. It's like it's a big part of Counter Strike, I guess.
And it's fun. And it's fun.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
it's like a
important.
challenge every time. You know,
Sure,
like
sure.
trying to beat your old school and stuff.
I need to
like
try that out more. I've played the zombie stuff,
that. Yeah.
the zombie custom games, stuff like that.
I've never touched that. Yeah, but yeah.
All right, you hear the concentration.
there's-
the
oh.
no!
I think honestly, just the custom game element of just esports or just video games in general. Like, where did Counter Strike come from?
Right.
Half-Life.
Yeah.
Where did MOBAs come from?
Yeah.
StarCraft mods.
StarCraft 2 Nexus Wars was my favorite
Really?
game to play for like a year.
Oh.
Okay.
Nice.
That's Aaron
Okay.
beat me.
We'll
like,
give you
what,
another go.
Do you
30
wanna-
seconds?
Another one?
Feeling
Yeah,
good?
if you
Right,
want.
okay.
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, it's up to
Why
you,
not?
man. I think, yeah. I want to see 25 seconds.
25?
Yes.
I don't think that's possible.
I don't think that's possible.
I'm going to do it next. Just kidding. That's probably.
All right.
Good to go. Oops. Not
Like,
used to the
there's like a
laptop, you know.
secret shortcut somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that. You might be able to like glitch it and jump on
Wall
the
jump
like
or
right
You're
something.
not
side.
used to fantastic
Ooh.
mobile
See
games.
this?
All right.
I need to
Now
get
we're
this for
seeing the
myself.
try-hard, competitive edge we're looking for.
It's putting me to shame now.
Ooh.
See, I would
oh.
go the other way because it's
Yeah.
rotating.
Oh,
No, it's the same. It's
Oh,
rotating.
nice.
Oh, is it
the same way,
rotating
Yeah.
towards you? Okay.
It's the other one that rotates.
This one's tricky. Oh, losing time. Losing time. Losing time.
Hey.
Don't feel the pressure. It's fine.
Oh, we landed.
Save
Gun.
Nice.
oh my god,
Gun.
I got it.
Shoot. Through. 29 seconds halfway through. It's pretty solid.
Doing pretty well.
Time to beat, what did we say,
47, 49 maybe?
We're close.
Pretty close.
He's just got to not fall.
Go, Aaron.
That is a
Don't
key
think
to it.
about falling. Because
Manifest destiny.
you'll probably fall if you think about it
Oh.
too much.
You had it.
Oh!
Nice.
Oh, you-
Oh!
48?
We might have to go to
It's a
instant
tie.
replay.
It might be a tie.
We might have to go to instant replay and compare both side by side to find out what's going on. But
All right.
That was
I'm
fun.
impressed.
That was fun.
Yeah,
I'm
that
impressed.
was pretty good.
Now I look terrible.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here in Predator Prime Talk. Obviously, you guys have a lot of fans watching from all around the world. Is there anything you want to say to them right here?
Just thanks for your support. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Just keep supporting us.
Yeah.
Stay with us.
And keep
That's it.
doing your shoes.
And where can people find you on social media?
Just at Twitter, just at Ustillo. That's it.
And for me, just at Azza. Yeah.
And quick prediction on the grand final of
Ooh.
FaZe versus Fnatic.
Yeah, I think FaZe are gonna win.
And
Even though Fnatic already beat them.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
yeah, the final's different. Is that I think they played in like the group stage, so I think
Best of
coming into
5 too, right?
I think coming into the grand final, FaZe have a lot of experience, and I think they'll take it. Yeah.
Stilo, Azur, thank you guys so much for joining us here at Predator Prime Talk. It has been a pleasure to chat with you guys.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Britt?
Thank you guys so much. Remember, we have another guest coming up. However, we wanted you to vote on your favorite play of the day from yesterday. So make sure you watch these and vote for your favorite at #PredatorGaming.
No, but with that AWP and with a couple players being able to afford AK-47s, they're going to go for it. This is strong enough to make a dent and at least... Oh, what a shot! The run boost through the smoke, and Olaf finds Glaive, and that might be it. That might be the winning hit.
He might even get the double here, not meant to be though, but good trades on both sides.
Back as a result for Fnatic and Twist. He's forced out of the pit by Molotovs and smoke, but he's up for the fight. And not only that, he's gonna get GW.
Olaf is pulled over towards mid for the moment, but Nico has been waiting this whole time. He's holding the trigger. He's waiting for more. He's calling this out, and there it is. He thought the one tap would work, but it doesn't matter. He's getting a second kill, and straight from above, he gets a third.
At this point, recovers the gun, and now he's got a gun. What? What? How has he not been found? Dupree! How'd you get away with it? You are lucky to be alive, my friend, but he does survive with 3.
Momentarily, in they go. One flashbang is all they're going to use, and Golden's able to strike before that even goes off.
Shot again as he slides out from new box. Not a lot of pressure applied to him, so he can do it for a third time, and he'll make no mistake on that. Bomb down.
There's power hidden inside all of us. Once you find it, there's no turning back. So choose your weapon, your champion, your challenge, and game on. Summon your strength. Predator puts you in the battle. But the fight is all yours. Summon your strength. Predator puts power in your hands. You decide what to do with it.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just now joining us, this is Predator Prime Talks here at IEM Katowice 2018. Today is the final match, but we have some great guests here with us. This next one you might recognize from pretty much every CSGO tournament ever or event. So this is Jason O'Toole, otherwise known as Moses.
How's it going?
Hey,
Everyone
welcome,
doing
welcome,
good?
welcome.
Thank you for being here, man.
Doing
Before we
great.
get started, I got to ask, do you want anything to drink? We have water, sparkling water, and Red Bull.
I would love a sparkling water, actually.
All right.
That'd be cool.
We're going to have that here for you in just a moment. So, I mean, you've been in the Counter-Strike scene for years now. Can you please start explaining the start of how you got into it and how you got into the competitive scene and how you eventually became talent?
From the beginning.
From the
very beginning. That's a very long time ago.
So you were born? No.
yeah, no, exactly. That's pretty much what it was. I mean, I've been playing Counter-Strike for like almost the entirety of its existence, so about 17, 18 years now. So I guess the path would start like back in 2000, 2001 is when I first started playing it casually for fun for a couple of years. And I remember coming home from school, and my brother had this, a demo or a replay of like one of the first really exciting like grand finals. We never even knew there was a competitive scene, and this like one replay was a Swedish team, Ninjas in Pajamas, which is an organization that's still around, playing against Team X3. So it was like the first like North American versus Europe rivalry hyped up game, and we watched that together, and it was awesome. And we decided we wanted to start competing. So from then on, it was no more casual; it was all competitive for us. And eventually like worked our way up from there to go from nobody to being on like a couple of the best players and creating the best team in North America. That was right around like 2003, 2004. Around 2006 I stopped playing and I went to college and I kind of disappeared from the scene. That's when Source got big, when CGS came around, and I wasn't into all that. And then came back in 2012 when CSGO was released and kind of dabbled in it. Played for about a year competitive at the professional levels in North America. And then just switched into all the broadcasting side of things. It was more stable and more reliable in terms of money, being able to make a living off of it, Like as a player back then, you only got salaries if you were very lucky, very fortunate in a way. And there were only like 2 teams in North America that were actually getting paid enough money to find a way to scrape together a living. It was even just 3 or 4 years ago, it was very, very different. So that was kind of, I was at that time of my life where I couldn't no longer risk my future on trying to be a professional player. And broadcasting was very appealing to me at the time.
That's awesome. Now, Counter-Strike, so much history. You've been playing it for so long. What drew you in about Counter-Strike? What's your go-to explanation, I guess, to folks who are looking to get into it about why it's such an awesome game and why you've stuck with it for so long?
It's a game where it's very easy. I mean, this is kind of like the normal thing that's touted about Counter-Strike when you talk about it as an esport. It's a very easy game to understand on a surface level. It's very much, any random person tuning in, even if they don't know anything about video games, a headshot with the rifle kill somebody. You know what a kill looks like on the screen. And it's very easy to understand in terms of, if you kill all your opponents, you win the round and everything like that, and the bomb plant, and then you have the defuse. I like it just because it's one of those games where it's never the same. I've been playing it for 17 years, and it rarely feels repetitive to me, in the sense that there's no like way. You're always playing against some other human being, and his decision always changes in each and every round. The way he plays something out is going to be different each and every time. The way the decisions I make are going to change each and every time. So it's every time you play the game, it's brand new in a way, which is very cool. And it's got a lot of it's always described as the roller coaster of emotions because there's 15 rounds per half. There's potentially 30 rounds if we don't go to overtime. There's so many high points and there's so many low points depending on which perspective you're looking at it from. So it really is a game that I think does a phenomenal job of capturing emotions of what you watch in terms of competitive.
And even the scene itself, the competitive scene for Counter-Strike Go, anyone can win. There's so many different teams that are constantly in the forefront winning first place. And what do you think of the North American scene, all these scenes growing up? Because you said you kind of skipped Source.
Yeah.
So why get back into CSGO, and how do you feel about it, like growing and all the way to here?
I played Source for fun because I always needed like some level of Counter-Strike to kind of like, that was what I used as like a time killer and just fun, and that was always the game that I've had so many friends that built up in Counter-Strike, so I played Source for fun. But I mean, CSGO was really like, we always had this dream. We used to when I was 15, 16, you know, I bought a fake ID just to compete in Counter-Strike tournaments when I was younger. Like
That
it
is
wasn't
awesome.
it wasn't to buy beer, it was to get into Counter-Strike tournaments. And we always had these dreams when we were, you know, the events back then would be in hotels, they'd be in the big ballrooms, and you know, it was probably I think my first beer was at a CPL event when I was far too young. But you know, all the conversations were around this is so cool. Like we love competing in esports. We love competing in Counter-Strike. We didn't know it would grow to be this whole thing, but there was kind of that dream that was like, what if one day this got big enough to be in an arena? What if like one day, and I think everyone from back then, all the players at some level, kind of promised themselves that at some point in the future they would be involved in like the next step of the game, or they wanted to be involved. And a lot of people gave it a shot. A lot of people thought it would be CGS, and that failed. And when I kind of came back to CS:GO, my goal was to transition into you know, a job or some kind of a path that could actually affect that future of Counter-Strike. So I played for a year to kind of get my name back into the scene. It still kind of had some very minor, I guess, brand value, you'd call it. It was still well known enough that people would recognize me, but you do kind of had to like refresh everyone's memory and then, you know, go from there. And that was kind of my goal. Was I was one of those people who said I will be involved in the next evolution of Counter-Strike in some way, in whatever way it is.
Well, then what does it mean to you? I mean, Counter-Strike had the highest viewership on Twitch.
Yeah.
Katowice is packed, sold out. Like, what does that mean to
And
you?
you were on the broadcast for the E-League.
Yeah, both
yeah.
the E-League ones that broke the record. That's, I mean, that's super. Those are super cool. I mean, we don't necessarily those record-breaking things are something that we always hear about after the fact, and it's always like, this is sick. But I mean, it's just more, you know, I think everyone has kind of invested into it in a way, because, you know, E-League I was there at season 1 when they just started, so that was, you know, I've been there from the progression of them building that product. I've been in the meetings where they're like, how do we change this? How do we portray this? What graphic do we need to make to help viewers understand? So it's very much a part of the process in a lot of different ways. All the content meetings to get the storylines out. And I think that was just a point of pride as well, just because there's so many people at E-League and at Turner who were not into video games in any way. You know, these are guys who come from basketball broadcasts. The director who's won awards on television for his like Inside the NBA, he's logged probably 150 hours in Counter-Strike just playing against bots. He's not good enough to play against humans, but he wanted to kind of learn some of the basics of the game and the gameplay and how it works to help better do it. And when you see that kind of investment of time and kind of attention from people coming from outside, it's very motivating. So I mean, those kinds of things. You know, I still remember the first Cologne, ESO 1 Cologne 2015, the first year they were inside the Lanxess Arena, walking in just for rehearsals when the arena was empty. And it was just, you know, blank stage, no crowd whatsoever, but you just like look up and you see this whole arena and you just know tomorrow morning that's going to have 13,000 fans. And that was like the culmination of a dream. Was like that event for me will always stick out in my mind as like, you know, we did it, or, you know, somehow I like some small way, you know, I was there, you know, that was like the history defining moment for me.
That's literally what I was about to ask you. Like your favorite, you know, the moment. I feel like there's a moment where it's like,
oh yeah,
wow, we're here, we've done it.
But
especially for you, 17 years in Counter-Strike.
but it's not even you. It's the game, right? You're
Yeah.
happy for the game.
Yeah, the game, it's funny. I mean, the game to me has been, at different times, it's been like a brother, it's been parents, it's been girlfriend, it's you know, it's been all of it.
Ex-girlfriend.
Because I've sacrificed girlfriends, I've sacrificed time with my family. You know, I have a second nephew being born this week that I won't see for the next 2 months. So there are those sacrifices along the way. But the things like ESO 1 Cologne, that does kind of make it worth it. And I mean, it never ends as well. There's always, at the moment in Counter-Strike and in esports, there's always like the next step that's coming so quickly. Like, you know, 1 month after that ESO 1 Cologne, I was flown out to Dubai. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know, I would have never gone to Dubai otherwise, but, you know, we're doing an event on the Dubai marina with all the yachts in the background and the skyscrapers right on the beach and their man-made islands. So that was surreal in and of itself. And then, you know, just last year I was in the Golden State Warriors arena out in Oakland, and met the owners of the Golden State Warriors. I was introduced to a guy who was the original creator of the Nerf guns, which occupied a lot of my childhood as well. So I was like, phenomenal, this is great. So there's always like a next progression that comes in esports at the moment, which is cool.
What's the coolest person or event or opportunity that you've had since you've started professionally?
You know, I don't know if I guess Dubai is up there. Dubai was another one of those cool ones where, you know, it's one of those surreal moments where you're at the top of like one of the skyscraper hotels and like you're having a drink and you're looking out over the marina at night and you're just like, I don't know how the hell I got here.
Video games.
Yeah, right. That's very weird. I don't know. I think like that one's cool. I think I had an opportunity to go to South Africa last year that I wasn't able to do it. I went to Australia last year, which another place I'm not sure if I ever would have been able to go to just because it's not easy to get to. Australia's great. It just is in the worst possible location in the world. I have one of my closest friends in esports is one of the analysts here, Yanko. He's Serbian. And I actually went to visit him in Serbia, and that was like a really cool trip for me. And it was just a very weird thing. You know, it was because with America, when we think of Serbia, it's not always like the most positive kind of mindset that you have about it. You don't necessarily know what's happening, and it was one of the coolest like weekends I've had in a long time. So that's another one that'll just always stick out.
And you know, a common trend is the friends you make and maybe heroes, personal heroes, or people you grow with, I guess, with the scene. Can you talk more towards, you know, other friends or people you've met or those experiences and those other people that have been with you along the way and how impactful that has been?
Yeah, I mean, the Yanko is a big one, obviously, just because that's a completely different culture. That's been fun. But I mean, all the guys we work with, you know, Henry and Alex from the UK, Chad's from Australia. Just the amount of time we spend together, really, like we spend probably thousands of hours each year and probably, you know, 250 plus days together traveling around the world. And I always, in my head, I always liken it going back to like college, you know, like when you meet up with friends from college and you go to the local bar on a Wednesday or like the local bar and the next one on a Thursday. It's kind of like a similar thing for us. It's just, you know, instead of the local bar, it's like we're just in a different country. And sometimes you wake up and you don't even realize where you are. But I think the more impactful thing has been the amount of people from 10 years ago that I played with or against in Counter-Strike that have messaged me and been like, hey, I just randomly heard Counter-Strike, you know, has a big tournament going on, and I tuned in and saw you on the broadcast, and that's super cool. And I had just like the small messages of being like, you know, we're just happy someone from the old days still being involved. And I think that's super cool. And that's there's a lot of people who wish they were still able to kind of commit the time to be involved with it in some way.
Definitely. Britt, I think we actually have a question.
Oh, we have a couple questions. At Halo of Thoughts on Twitter wants to know, what are your thoughts on the current state of the North American scene? Obviously, C9 won the major and Liquid's strength recently, but what about others?
The North America, it's been a long time coming to see North America actually kind of rise up and be competitive. Cloud9 winning the major, I think, it'll be interesting to see how the scene can develop from there. Now that they have we have some kind of like team to look up to, because we've never had a team that you could hold and say this is a squad that can consistently compete. This is the mold that we should all base ourselves off of. So it'll be interesting from there. I think overall the North American scene has just been getting better. It's just taken a very long time because the deficiencies in our region in terms of Counter-Strike has never been like skill or ability. It's always been like the knowledge of how to prepare, like how to learn the game and everything like that. We haven't had the greatest amount of people committed to actually becoming great players. They want to be, you know, a great brand, or they want to be, you know, a big name, but they don't actually want to hoist a trophy, or they just don't know how to do it, whatever it might be. And I think those processes of learning how to practice and learning how to improve as a five-man unit, I think people are starting to finally get it. So I find that it's very hopeful moving forward. That being said, I don't know if we'll ever have more than 2 teams that can actually compete on a world scale. I think that's a lot to ask for. So maybe a third would be nice if we just have a third team that can make some dangerous runs, but I think Cloud9 and Liquid being at the top is a pretty cool place to be for the region.
Well, we've had a few players from different teams on and talk to us about how actually like the Australian team that we just had on moved to America to play, and the Brazilian team as well.
Yeah.
How is that like recently with all these teams moving to America and maybe providing more scrim opportunities?
It's kind of cool. It depends on what angle you wanna look at it, right? I know there's some players in North America who get kind of maybe I shouldn't put words in their mouth, but there is a certain argument to be made that when you have a team coming, like, yes, their region doesn't have a lot of infrastructure from Australia, from Brazil, and it's not necessarily the easiest regions to improve. So I think it is good that they come over to North America and have those opportunities, especially when you have the Brazilian team who's been the best in the world for 2 years.
Right.
But there is also the other argument to be made where it's, at what point do we have to kind of start putting a stop to that? Because now, you know, if there's qualifiers for an event, like a North American qualifier, these teams can't fly back to Australia for a weekend to play, and like the qualifier, they have to play in the North American one. You know, this team can't play in the Brazilian qualifier. They're in North America now, so they have to play in the North American qualifier. And at what point does that kind of start taking opportunities away from this region? So I mean, a lot of it is just there's no easy answer to it, and every answer you have is going to piss somebody off.
Right.
So I think the best answer you can have is we just need to find ways to start growing the scenes in those smaller regions, which is happening. It's just a slow process.
I know we have another question for Brittany, but really quick, I have a piggyback on the topic here, which is the phenomenon of sorts of the regional teams versus the international teams, right? Like FaZe is a good example of a melting pot of different, just absolute amazing players, all from different countries, versus a team like Virtus Pro, a lot of teams that stick with the same region. What are your thoughts on that as far as international versus regional teams? Is it good for the scene more or less? Do you like seeing it?
Yeah, no, I think it's great for the scene to get international teams. Obviously, the regional teams, a team like Virtus Pro has so many other opportunities in terms of the organization because they can really switch on that Polish fan base is a big one. The same with the Brazilian fan base. If you have an all Brazilian or all Polish team, those countries are going to get behind them 100%. It's perhaps less so with the international teams, but I think the big thing is. You can get players that just come on to be a fifth player, and they're a different nationality as long as the language barrier isn't an issue. But there's players from Turkey who are doing that. There's players from all these different countries. Estonia has 2 players that are on these teams. So you're taking players and teams from different regions, and these guys go and live in Copenhagen. They'll go live somewhere else. Now that there's enough money for it to make sense. It used to be there have been some weird situations where someone's left their country in Europe to go live in America for $2,000 a month, which is nothing, and then all of a sudden he's stuck in this cheap apartment in the middle of nowhere because you don't want to spend money. And now that salaries are getting up towards $10,000-$15,000, and these teams have these big gaming complexes, and they'll put you up in like a nice house. The Optic Mansion they had outside Chicago was huge. I was there, and it's got a pool in the entryway. So you put them up in these opportunities, and all of a sudden it makes way more sense, and they're way happier being that international player having that opportunity. And I think that's cool to give individuals the opportunity. At the end of the day, they can always decline it, but I think international teams provide a lot of opportunities that people wouldn't get otherwise.
The Swedish Joker from Twitch would actually like to know what are some up-and-coming teams or players specifically have you had your eye on, do you see potential with?
Oh, that's a tough one. This is always a weird question since I spend so much time at events with all the better teams. I don't get to actually watch the lower tiers. There's been a couple teams in North America, a couple players that I've watched that have been cool. I always have my eye on like a team like Renegades, which has kind of made enough strides to kind of get out of that kind of a zone. I really liked the 2 French players. This is another example of an international team. There were 2 French players, Amanek and Deviduvek, that actually lived in the States for about a year that played on Misfits. And they were fun to watch, and I think especially when you consider the French teams at the moment underperforming, I think keeping an eye on some of the younger French players is always a really, really cool prospect because those French teams are known to always kind of mixing and matching the same 10 players for like the past 3 years. So some new blood would be good for them. I know there's a guy, Zaiwu, I think, who's a French player as well, who's just getting picked up. But there's the crazy thing about Counter-Strike is, it's kind of the same thing as the North American region is it's never the skill that prevents a player, well, not never, but it's usually not the skill that prevents a player from making the jump from semi-pro to the professional level. It's usually being, in the right atmosphere in the team and having the proper teammates. And that's the hardest part about making that leap is finding 4 other players with the same mindset who want to become professional, who want to compete in these tournaments. And, in that sense, there's no team that I know of in North America that's really made that commitment together that I've watched kind of rise through the ranks, which is disappointing.
So there's a rumor that you're a big fan of football.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, maybe not.
Kind of, a little bit. It's another one of those things where
We talking soccer or football?
American football.
American
Okay, gotcha,
football.
gotcha.
I do like soccer. I played soccer.
Where are you
in high
from
school.
again? Sorry.
Michigan.
Michigan. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay.
More of a lacrosse place, but
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You're not a
I-
Lions fan, are you?
I am
Oh,
somewhat aligned.
Brittany.
So this is always a very
Wow.
weird conversation. My football allegiance is the most screwed up thing in the world because I moved a lot when I was younger. When I first started watching football, I lived in Dallas, so I'm obviously a Cowboys fan. I love the Cowboys.
I'm from Dallas, by the way.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
nice. I don't like it there. No offense.
No, that's fine. No, I'm not. I'm in LA now.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Perfect.
careful. But Brittany's from Dallas too. Yeah, so look out.
Okay, so I grew up in Plano when I was younger. I
Okay,
lived there
sure,
for a number
cool,
of years.
cool.
So I'm a Cowboys fan there. My entire family is from Pittsburgh.
Steelers,
Ah.
woo!
So I like the Steelers as well, and they're, they don't like each other a whole lot, so that one makes no sense. And then I've lived in Michigan for about, 15 years or so, 16 years. So, just by, naturally I have to root for the Lions at some point. But then I went to college in Chicago. So I rooted for the Bears when I was there. So they're also rivals. So my football allegiances are so screwed up, it's not.
The connection that I wanted to make, though, is how has your love for sports affected your job now and your career? Or has it? Do you ever relate sports to sports?
Yeah, so
Yeah, just real quick, even like I feel like broadcasters too. Like maybe if you take inspiration,
most of it now is what can we take from traditional sports that would be cool, would be fun in esports. So most of what I do is I remember being in Atlanta for one of the E-League seasons, and I was sitting just on the couch in the hotel room. And one of the rare times I turned on the TV, and the first thing that I was flipping through that caught my attention was one of the NFL films. It was like a recap of the '85 Bears, their march to the Super Bowl that one year. And that gave me an inspiration for doing our own series, which I eventually made a 45-minute documentary piece called like CS:GO's Greatest Games, and it highlighted one of the most infamous games in Counter-Strike Major history. And it was a really cool piece of content, and it was really, really popular. Not the easiest thing to make. I had a lot of fun with it.
What was the game? Sorry.
It was the Fnatic versus LDLC at DreamHack. It was the one where Fnatic did like a boost that was considered highly illegal. It was huge controversy.
Is that? Can people watch that somewhere?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can just search
wanna
for
plug-
it's like Room on Fire, CS:GO's Greatest Games. It came out about a little over a year ago now. But it was a really cool piece of content. And I wish I could do it more. It's tough to find the time and the money to put something like that together. I paid for it out of my own pocket, which was rough. But those are the kind of things, Yanko, he would have loved that question. He's really big into football now. When we're at events, he's always watching NFL films. He's always watching all the extra content they do, because we kind of always have conversations about how the NFL, in terms of their machine, produces the best content outside of the actual games in the world. And that's kind of the number one thing that when we focus on our Counter-Strike scene as a whole, that's what we're missing. And that's where we want to get the ideas. What kind of shows can we do? What kind of things can we focus on? What kind of storylines can we build?
Have you guys ever done player highlights?
Yeah, but it's not easy. We've tried to do a number of times, commit to like bigger projects. I know there were a couple tournaments last year where Yanko and I wanted to do, after every major tournament, we wanted to do three videos that were like the 10 best clutches, the 10 best op kills, the 10 best pistol kills, whatever it might be, of a tournament. And it's not an easy thing to keep track of when, we're at the venue from 9 a.m. until midnight sometimes, every single day, 6 days in a row. And then all of a sudden you're exhausted. And then maybe you're not paying as much attention and you don't see that one specific highlight, or you just forget to write it down and then you forget about it the next day. Any number of things that can happen. And then obviously, in order to do it properly, you have to have that content released within, a week of the event to really make it, worthwhile. And then all of a sudden we have to coordinate with, an editor to kind of put it together. And we're also traveling to the next event, and then we're getting started at the next event. We don't have time to do the voiceovers. So there's all these different complications that arise when we've tried to do that kind of content with our kind of schedule at the moment. And that's just one of the big problems that the CS:GO scene has as a whole, is that our schedule is, just so screwed up. It doesn't allow for any kind of freedom to do that kind of content. Even to schedule a vacation is near impossible.
Yeah, and I want to jump on that. Talking about traditional sports, talking about the Counter-Strike scene. That's something that has been a conversation regards just how many Counter-Strike tournaments there are, and just the schedule for the players, the commentators, everyone involved. And then you have entities like Blizzard and Riot with their franchising models for Overwatch and League of Legends.
Yeah.
So the Counter-Strike scene as a whole, especially what you said before regarding the local scenes and allowing that natural growth to happen within these specific scenes happening. Do you in your mind have an ideal solution? I know that's a pretty hard one, but But what I'm sure you think about it all the time. What do you think about what should the steps be, I guess, for the future of Counter-Strike in your mind?
In reality, I mean, the easiest solution would be the players just kind of coming together and saying, we're only going to compete in one league and we're only going to compete in one tournament circuit.
Isn't that kind of happening right now? A players union almost evolving?
I mean, it depends on where you want to fall on that. That players union conversation has been going on for 3 years now. So, I mean, it's always been almost happening. to a certain degree. But they're the ones who hold that power. That like they are the players, whether they realize it or not. As soon as that does get organized, they are the ones who could just drop the axe and say they could fix the schedule overnight.
Right.
You know, this is what we're doing. I remember when they first finally got together enough to have like the quote unquote off season, which is 3 weeks in August, and they were all super proud that they got these 3 weeks off. And I was just like, well, that's not long enough.
Not at all.
So it's not an easy thing. I mean, even that's not to put the players on blast, by the way. It's not an easy thing. I know from talking to those guys, the entire concept of a players union is not easy to organize, and I know that because, you know, we've had conversations, and if we as commentators should do something like that, and it's not easy to get even just 10 people on the same page. So I can only imagine when it's 200 players, all from different countries. So it's. I don't have a good solution. I don't know if the franchise model. I don't think that would necessarily work for Counter-Strike. I don't know if necessarily even esports in general. I guess Overwatch is the big experiment on whether an LA team or a Boston team can actually grow a big enough fan base. I think it's a cool idea. I know the owners are really interested by it because they can do local activations with sponsors. But for us, I think it just needs to. Eventually, someone's just going to get so burnt out they're just going to say enough's enough. You know, all this conversation of whether teams should just pick and choose their events better. It's not always that easy to do that as a team. To turn down some of the money, to turn down some of the cool opportunities. So it's going to be a process, and I think it'll start to fix itself when that players union actually gets up and running. The only other thing that I would think could even really change it would be, you know, obviously one tournament organizer kind of dropping out of the race, right? Would be something to say, you know, we're just done with Counter-Strike, the schedule's too busy. That's kind of what E-League's been doing. They've been scaling back their Counter-Strike.
Right.
Not because they don't have the money for it, but just because they're just saying, what's the point? The Counter-Strike scene is already so saturated.
Right.
And I think that's the real danger of it, is we're getting to the point now where we are going to start boring viewers. You know, we just did Star Ladder in Kiev last week. It was 9 days. It was 16 teams. It was best of threes every day. There were 8 best of threes a day on 2 separate streams. And right after those 9 days, there was 1 day off, and then we started here at IEM Katowice, and I think like 12 of the teams are the exact same. So what is the motivation for a viewer to tune into 9 days of Star Ladder and then essentially watch mostly the same tournament here this week? What is the motivation for the teams to kind of prepare properly? What is, you know, we're really kind of getting to the end of the rope, I think, with a lot, especially when you consider these teams and players get criticized so heavily when they do so poorly, and it's just like, well, come on, like we've just been traveling. We've had literally, you know, what would it be? It would be something like 15 or 16 like actual professional match days in the past 18 days.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are we expected to perform at the peak level? How are we expected to prepare for this opponent properly if we don't even have time to rest properly, or maybe we're sick, maybe we're jet lagged? It's a lot of things. So at some point, I think it will end up being the players who kind of put the foot down and say enough is enough.
Right.
We need a Counter-Strike island. Move everyone there.
No, that's the
build
opposite of what you want. You want it to be more relaxed.
But you have to earn your spot on the island.
We did an event in Cancun at the end of last year, and that was phenomenal. So we've all been talking about picking an island to go do an event on and just stay there for like a month-long event in Bali.
I like the idea.
Hey, Britt, we got a question.
No, I just thought that was a great idea. However, we do have a question. At Carl TV wants to know, which player do you think has achieved the highest peak in CSGO? You know, there's examples of Guardian and Navi, or Kenny S and Titan, etc. But what's your opinion?
Yeah, Kenny S and Titan would probably be a pretty good shout. I don't think there was anyone who, on an individual level, was as dominant as he was during a stretch. The funny thing about that, though, is it's really weird to say. This is something I don't think football, like traditional sports, don't have to ever go through. When he was at his peak, the weapons were different. That was before like the weapon got nerfed. It was so good in his hands. Him and JW were nightmares with it. And then, you know, Valve actually nerfed the weapon, so you couldn't do the same thing. So just overnight, they had to adapt their game, and they had to kind of change the way they played. And I think that's kind of a weird way to think about the game, is that at any one point you could get so good, and then if the developer decides to change something, all of a sudden a big piece of your gameplay is just gone. That's a really good peak. I think he was so dominant, but his team around him was really, really poor. I think a good one would be Olaf in 2015, Olafmeister, who's now in FaZe. When he was with Fnatic, I don't think I've seen anyone just individually be able to win more games and rounds on big stages as well.
And that was just mechanically, he was able to get like headshots a lot, or was that him as a playmaker?
Yeah, it was him as a play. It was both. He had an incredible mechanical skills, and his decisions on when to take fights and his confidence was at an all-time high for like a year. And you know, we have Coldzera, who's been the most consistent player for the past probably year and a half, 2 years. But I don't even think that he could really match the level that Olaf hit, just because the way that Fnatic played was so much more individual. Like, they were just like, Olaf, go here and kill something, like find a fight. And he would in every single round. And whenever they needed it, he would find a kill, sometimes usually 2. And that was such an unfair piece of the puzzle to have on your team. Coldzera does similar things, but he does it very much within the structure and the framework of that team. So it's a little bit different in that sense. But I think Titan and Kenny S and Titan and Olaf in 2015 is a pretty good shout. Simple at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that an incredible level as well?
Yeah, and while we're on that, Rex would like to know what your thoughts on Nip with Dennis.
Yeah, I don't like him being the end game leader for the team because he's so good. Could be wrong. I've been wrong about those kinds of things in the past. I think I still kind of look at the in-game leading role as like in a very traditional sense of like the old style of Counter-Strike, where I want someone who has the experience to be dedicated to the role and how to play the game. I think you can kind of get away with it now in CSGO, especially with the way teams are played. Like Cloud9 is a team that got away with that at the major. I think it allows for really high peaks, but I don't think it allows for long-term consistency in that sense. I think he's a cool addition, though. I thought, to me, he was like the hottest free agent after the major. Like, to me, I think any team that needed a player and didn't go for him, it was absolutely insane. I think he's extremely good. I think the key to that team winning again and being impactful in the scale of the entire scene is going to be Rez, though. Like Drake Dennis is a huge addition, but I think Rez, like one of the younger players, one of the young riflers, is kind of the one that's going to make that team be competitive again, because they do need more firepower. You can kind of see Get Rights towards like the I guess the twilight of his career, it seems. I know he's really struggling with his own gameplay right now, and he's expressed some frustration. So if he doesn't figure it out, you're going to need some more firepower. It's going to have to be one of the younger guys.
It's almost like you're an analyst or something with Counter-Strike. this is great knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And I want to ask about that, actually. You know, your role on the broadcast. How has that changed for you over the years, or how has that kind of evolved? And I guess what do you enjoy most about being on the desk?
Well, I've done everything, I think, except for a stage host, which I'll never do.
No?
That seems like my nightmare.
Really?
Yeah, I do not envy stage hosts, and I think we're lucky we have OJ because he's so very good at it. And I know Sue's had to do stage hosting. I know Alex had to do stage hosting, and I've never envied that position. You know, I've kind of always prided myself to be able to do pretty much everything. You know, I've hosted, I've been on the desk, and I commentate now more than I have in the past, and it's all fun. It's just with the amount that we do, I think there needs to be more variety. You know, when I started commentating in North America and I was kind of coming up, you know, I was the main commentator there. And then when I got invited to international events, there's more of like I don't want to say pecking order, but there's more established commentators. So it wasn't necessarily always like you're going to commentate. You know, you're going to be on the desk for this one because we've got these 4 guys that have been commentating for years. And it was really around, you know, we used to kind of swap things up. So you used to go into an event, and especially during the group stages, you would cast with so many different people, and, you know, even the casters would come on the desk. And then right when we got to Cluj-Napoca at the end of 2015, that was the event. We did it one last time. That was a fun major. That was one of the better events we'd been to. And right after that, all the commentator pairs
kind of established, more or
they
less?
said, you know, we're not going to be on the desk anymore. We're only going to be commentators, and we're only going to commentate with ourselves. And I don't necessarily fault them for that. I think that's a very smart business and branding decision on their end. But it did really hurt the analysis desk in a way where tournament organizers didn't have the money at the time to really actually hire a full crew. So the way it worked after that, from like throughout 2016 and probably through most of 2017, was the analysts would get hired. You'd have, you know, 2 analysts and a host, and they would do every single game for an event for a whole 5 days. And so analysts every day would be getting, you know, your call times, you know, 10 a.m. Game starts at, you know, 11:30, whatever it might be, and you're there until the last game is played. Sometimes was after midnight. And that
Sneaking food behind the desk.
Yeah, and that would be your schedule, and you know, it'd be jet lagged, and it'd be working 16-hour days, and then it'd be go home, sleep 6 hours, do the same thing over again the next day, and repeat that for a week.
Yeah.
And when I'm in that position at a certain point after a year of that, I was just said, I don't want to do this anymore. Because the analyst is like the most unloved position. You have to be intelligent, you have to be funny, you have to be able to buy time when you're called upon, and you have no tools whatsoever to do it. You know, most events don't even give you like a telestrator to actually properly depict
You are
what
definitely
happens
barking
around.
up the right tree.
Yeah. So
Thankfully, we have Jason O'Toole.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just gave up after a while, right? But you know, Machine as well, even the host, like the host, think of how much he gets wrecked. You know, he's a guy who's got to organize everything. He's got the guy talking in his ear, and he's doing every single segment as well. So at a certain point, we had to figure out how to change that. And now organizers, especially ESL, has kind of pioneered the always hiring that third person for rotation, slimming down the schedule a little bit. But for me, I just got so bored of being in those positions where I don't say, like, the segments are sometimes too short to say anything of value.
That's what Freiberg was saying. We had Freiberg on here too.
Yeah, no, it's a tough problem to get around. But you don't get to say anything of value. Like, you maybe as an analyst go on and you have 2 sentences, right? And if you don't impress, you know, the 30,000 hardcore Counter-Strike fans that are on, you're going to get criticized. You're going to get a tweet that's like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're going to get you're going to get read threat, whatever it might be. And that just kind of starts to drain on you, where it's like, I wish I just had the opportunity to show something. And so analysts in a lot of ways in those years, for 2 years, were kind of left out in the cold in that sense. And that's a problem we'll have to fix. I think there's a couple ways to do it. We just have to get there properly.
Do you mind explaining what you like your suggestions?
Yeah,
would be?
I don't think the analyst desk at a live event like this in Katowice, I don't think it should be used for in-depth analysis. Like,
Okay.
So maybe
Is
like
it-
a telestrator segment, or
And
Is it telling the
maybe-
story?
Yeah, you can do a telestrator, you can tell a story, but maybe I picked this up from Turner when I was there with E-League. I think that the desk at a live event should be there to use it as an entertainment. Let us have some
Right.
fun on the desk. Don't like throw us in like a suit jacket and have us
believe
talk about the
TI
game.
does a really good job at that.
Yeah, they have had some segments. I know they do like the 2 desk thing, right? Like they do like the analysis desk and the fun desk that they throw back and forth to. But you know, I always think that a live event, or I've started to think that live events should be done where, kind of like inside the NBA, when you have Shaq and you have Charles and you have, you know, Kenny and Ernie up there, and they just have a really good time. And as a viewer, you watch that because you are having fun watching them have fun. But
Is that the content, or is that the guests, though? Is that the people that they have on the desk?
it's both.
Okay.
You have to find like a right fix. Like and we have great guys to do either one. We obviously have the knowledgeable guys, and we have, and we all like to have fun naturally. And you just have to find content that they all want to do. And we've always had plenty of ideas for that. It's about convincing people to execute them and try it out. The only problem with that is if you go that route, you have to then make the analytical content outside the game. You have to go towards the event and you have to hire someone to say, let's break this game down in depth and let's make a 30-minute YouTube video on why this team beat this team in this game at this tournament. You have to crank it out and you have to put it up. Or maybe you know, have someone record it and you use it in the broadcast, you know, between days, something like that. You hire someone at home to kind of put it together and then you use that. But again, no organizer at the moment is willing to kind of invest in that kind of external content.
Even E-League?
E-League is willing to do it, but the tough part with E-League is that they don't, their content is tailored for television.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
they, you know, they don't have,
concentrated.
you know, trust me, we've gone to them. We've said, we have these cool ideas. We want to put these ideas together. You guys have all the resources. We have all the ideas and the knowledge and the brand and the Counter-Strike community, but they don't care to throw up a video on YouTube. You know, that's going to get 80,000.
That's not what they do.
No, they're not interested in that whatsoever. So in that sense, those kinds of piece of content don't really work for them.
Brittany, do we have any more questions from the chat?
Actually, I have a question for you.
Cool.
Because we talk about E-League, and there's a lot of movement from brands coming into the space and broadcast rights.
Yeah.
You know, and so with Turner making a move into the space, you know, is it in our favor as in the esports industry to cater to ESPN, Fox, NBC, and how they do their broadcasts?
I guess in a way, I'm very hesitant to cater to the people who come in and want to put it on television. I don't think there's ever going to be a world where this StarCraft or Counter-Strike or Dota works as on TV to that audience. And I think the big thing is, I think there's going to be a middle ground where we have to cater somewhat to them. And they're going to have to cater to us, and they have to do that to put it on Twitch and everything like that. But we also need to realize there are going to have to be more one thing that esports doesn't do well is sell sponsorships at the moment, and that will change over the years when like the Turner sales force is eventually going to learn how to sell a Twitch sponsorship ad for a Counter-Strike tournament to Pepsi. You know, that will happen. And in fact, actually Mountain Dew's already invested in a semi-professional league. But in that sense, we as viewers are going to have to realize it's not just going to be pure gameplay up at all times. We have to, you know, as a broadcast team, we have to come up with segments so you can say this segment is brought to you by Pepsi. This segment is brought to you by whoever it might be.
Or your analyst desk is called something specific, right?
Yeah, which we already have. I know ESL does like the Xfinity analyst desk or something along those lines. And it probably differs from different broadcasts, but I think there's a world in which, you know, the Turner Sports, the Foxes, the ESPNs are going to have to catch up with esports in a way, in the sense that they have to learn how to sell this properly. They have to understand the product well enough to be able to sell it to the companies and the brands that they already have a relationship with. And for us, there's going to be a middle ground where maybe we can't make as many, you know, dick jokes during a broadcast. Maybe we can't make as much silly, you know, we have to kind of, it's not about being professional, but it's about finding a way to get that middle ground with these new brands that are going to bring in more and more money.
Especially with a game like Counter-Strike, which I know there's been some controversy over just the fact that it uses terrorists and counter-terrorists as the word names. How do you feel that CSGO has kind of pushed past that? Because it definitely seemed to be holding them back in the past. Have they gone past that? Are sponsors now more interested in CSGO as a game, even looking past the fact that it's guns and violence?
I think that one is tricky, obviously, and I don't think we've gotten past it. I think from the conversations I've had with some team owners, with some people in sales, with some people at Turner, the sponsors who get into Counter-Strike and the sponsors. It's all or nothing. There's no like middle ground. There's no like company that really wants to like dip their toes in. Either they're really, really turned off by the counter-terrorist thing, or they're fine with it and they go all in. I mean, Arby's did that. They had commercials on television where there was like a grenade and a deagle sound going off in the commercial. They had a commercial where they brought all the teams in and we shot high-powered rifles at Arby's sandwiches. So they loved it, and that got them, and that had a lot of fun. I met the guy who was like the kind of the marketing manager for Arby's, and he had a great time with it, and he thought it all did really well. He loved the kind of interaction and the traction they got from the community. I think that's the big thing, and I think to focus on the counter-terrorist aspect of Counter-Strike is to me, it's very silly. I understand why, you know, other companies do it, and they have to be very wary of that. But it is so much more than that, and that's the tough part. I think the people who kind of focus on that aren't getting esports as a whole quite yet. And I mean, if it really is that big of an issue, I am completely fine with calling it defense and offense, which we've done in the past. And I don't, you know, that's something that changed. Maybe not do the whole like, what was it in Germany for Counter-Strike when they televised it, it had to be like the surrender instead of you're killing someone, which is a bit much. But you know, those are some of the concessions we're going to have those conversations at some point if we want to make those, if it's going to be damaging to the game that we love.
But I mean, you guys got the highest viewership, so obviously it's not very damaging.
Yeah.
Or is it in a different sense?
See, I've heard from. There's always different angles to put on it. I know, for instance, the CLG Nick Allen, who is with Riot. I know he did an AMA, and he said that sponsors that come in and want to talk to CLG don't want their logo on the Counter-Strike team's jerseys. So there are some sponsors who really, really don't want it, and in that sense, that's turned CLG off to the idea of paying for a Counter-Strike team if they can't sell sponsorships on it.
Definitely.
And I don't necessarily think they can't. That might be a failure to sell sponsorships on their part, but I understand the hesitation to get into it in that sense. So I think certain people and certain companies are always going to be more open to it than others. And I think at the moment it is one of the most exciting games. It's one of the most exciting scenes, and it's a huge community to be involved in. And I think, you know, if you're a brand, it's kind of, I mean, I am biased, but I do think it's silly to ignore the positives over the counter-terrorist connotation.
Well, this has been a remarkable conversation. Thanks again for being with us.
No,
We're
thank you guys.
A little bit close to the end of our time, but should we have him play?
Here we go.
Should we have him play a game? Yes.
Yeah.
We are going to play
something special for you.
Excellent.
A form of Counter-Strike.
Go join Brittany up on the desk over there.
Yep.
It is a. Well, Brittany, how about you explain it?
All right, well, we have a little obstacle course for you to run. Pretty
Lovely.
simple. However, a lot of people have been having issues with it in terms of
The Aussies,
testing their skills.
Yeah, the Aussies didn't seem too comfortable with it.
I believe Hununanye got the highest score so far.
I think tied. We might be tied. We
well,
have to
he
go to
got it on
instant
his
replay.
first shot, though.
Yeah.
All right,
Hununanye
we
did
have
it.
to go to the rule book of competitive integrity to really dissect.
So after you pass that red line,
Yep.
the timer's going to start. So
Can I tweak the sensitivity here? It's just
Yes.
so I can
Oh,
make
please.
sure
Absolutely.
that when I embarrass myself, it is at
Your
my own-
fault.
on my own terms.
Go ahead.
17 years of Counter-Strike experience. We're about to see 37.
It's not that good. It's gonna be ugly.
37 seconds.
20 seconds.
That's what I have to
What?
use.
No. 20 seconds is
he breaks the
impossible.
game.
All right.
That could happen.
Good luck.
All right, here we go. Time has begun. We
All right.
start off with
Oh.
platforms with water that you do not want to fall into.
Deadly water.
It will
You can
reset you back
see-
at the front.
It's not very clear. It's kind of murky water. You don't want to fall in that.
Probably don't want to drink it either.
No, probably not.
All right. Tricky platforms. Getting used to those
Ooh,
controls.
The crouch. Nice.
And at the end,
Holy shit.
yeah.
Sorry.
I think the
Oh.
other side rotates the other way.
It
I'm
does.
just saying.
It totally does.
Oh!
What? Oh, no!
You're back at the turn right there. Yep.
Oh, no.
So. Okay. Yep. Yep.
Good, good.
Those things pop out. Yeah.
Oh, be careful.
And you're gonna have to shoot that circle
A predator sign.
Shoot it with what?
Right there,
Back
and then turn
up.
to the right.
to the right. Yeah.
The door opens.
Oh, God bless. What's going on?
Yes.
You're halfway through, though. This is the last stretch.
You're 1/8 of the way. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll be here for another hour.
We're working on the expansion.
I have to crouch this, don't I?
Oh,
Ooh, are you
oh,
gonna write it?
Whoa.
No.
can you jump?
Oh.
no.
You, yeah.
I was going for it. I was
You
trying to
were.
ride
So
it.
you can stand up straight for the rectangle part of that circle.
Yeah, the square you have to crouch, the rectangle you can
I
stand up
gotcha.
in.
Yeah,
Two
yeah,
different shapes.
Exactly. There it is.
Nice. And these
Okay.
are the hardest part. Can you make?
Oh,
Oh, no!
it's everyone. It got
It
me
does.
the first time too.
This is not ideal, is it?
You're doing.
Who did the worst?
You're doing
is
better
what I wanna
than
know.
most people.
Someone got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Who was that?
I don't think he wants us to remember.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
God.
I shouldn't call him out.
And honestly, those spheres at the end are just so. They catch everyone off guard.
All right, let's be real, guys. I never got past the spheres at the end.
I know. They're just like, okay.
So I have to beat 2 minutes and 30 seconds now. I just have to not
Yep.
be last.
Yep.
That's the
Don't-
story of
Don't
my
be nervous.
life, isn't
Don't
it?
think about falling. I was trying to give that advice earlier.
Oh, you did it.
Okay. Should we give him another go?
Do you want to try it again this
Oh,
week? It could
hell
be your
no,
time.
I-
Okay, cool. That's
We've done
fine.
enough
That's
here.
That was
perfectly
more
fine.
exhausting
That's
than
good.
analyzing CSGO.
Exactly. I'm
Yeah.
way more drained.
So should we get this game mode in the grand finals somehow?
You could probably slap that up on the internet. Get some cool
Yeah?
people doing trick shows.
Competitive, like
runs?
relay races would be fun. Maybe?
There's a guy named Launders who's big on the jump maps and the movement maps. If
Yeah.
you hit him up, he'll do a video.
And we're talking through that. There's certain parts that are actually helpful. But thanks again for playing our game, for hanging out
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
us.
It's been great.
But we've got a few things to close things out. First, I want your thoughts on this grand final. Are you going to be involved? Are you going to be up there for that at all? The grand
No,
final?
I get a rare game off, so
Okay.
I'm
So you're gonna
thinking
watch.
I might go pick up some beer. if
Yeah.
they have it in the Spodek.
Yeah,
and I'll
I might
just chill.
join you.
Yeah.
So FaZe, Fnatic, best of 5, grand finals, world champion, IEM Katowice.
I think it's gonna be FaZe.
Okay.
I would like to see Fnatic put up a really good fight.
So the player said the same thing, but Fnatic already beat FaZe in this tournament. Why are you giving it to FaZe?
Just because FaZe over time has been the better team. Listen, I'm probably one of the last few analysts who has my reservations and my doubts about how good this FaZe team can be. I think they fall flat pretty frequently for a team of this caliber. I think they've looked better than I've seen them in a long time at this tournament, but they're still just so good. Especially considering Kerrigan's usually their kind of weaker player, quote unquote, and he's been one of their better ones at this event. But I think everyone just kind of wants to see like little glimpses of that Fnatic from 2015 that won everything, and they want to see Flusha and Crimson JW, fighting for another trophy. I think that's always good for the scene to see the old dogs kind of have a resurgent form.
And one last question from the chat, real quick.
Nice.
Abed Katab from Twitter wants to know who is the best complete opera currently.
Best complete opera. I have to go through the list now. I think the best opera is probably, at the moment, it's probably Guardian, but I think if you're going to
what I was
go,
thinking.
I'm assuming if you're going to go complete, he's also meaning operas who can also use the rifle, which is a complex problem. I think you'd have to almost, like, at that point, you just kind of go to a hybrid op, or you could pick like one of the Cloud9 guys, like someone like Stewie or Tarek, that are also like super good with rifles and ops. And there's plenty of players. Device is probably up there as well for Astralis. So there's a lot of different places you could take
I
that
think
question.
Guardian had a lot of great moments this tournament, especially that matchup against Cloud9 that went the distance.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it?
That's my favorite match, I think, of the
Yeah,
tournament.
Yanko's a big FaZe fan, so when they play Cloud9 and they have those kinds of matches, we go at each other in the back.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. Do you have a favorite moment, like commentary-wise, that either you were a part of or that it just sticks out in your mind of from a broadcast standpoint?
The Epicenter game that Anders and I casted the final of between Virtus Pro and SK sticks out. That one was fun. I think when we did Cologne 2015, we had like the first tri-cast when I stepped in with Anders and Semler to do a 3-man cast, and we kind of had one of that NIP VP game that became like an iconic picture. My brother actually took that picture and blew it up and framed it for me, so that one's pretty cool as well. Yeah, there's just been so many. I don't think there's one like moment or one like round or kind of play. It's more just like the games and the experience in general that now stands out more than anything.
Awesome.
We've had a lot of players here on Predator Prime Talk, and when we asked them, what would you tell up-and-coming players how to get better? I want to ask you, to anyone that wants to become talent, anyone that wants to work behind the scenes or work as on stage, what would you tell them? How can they get into the Counter-Strike scene?
I would say the biggest mistake I see is people who are kind of obsessed with how the community views them. I would say be your harshest critic is like the easiest one to go with. Is be very honest and critique yourself and be hard on yourself and force yourself to improve, and don't worry so much about what comments are being said about you on a forum post, on Reddit, on Twitter, whatever it might be. You have to ignore that because it affects even us as the more established guys. It's not always easy to handle that, and I know when you're coming up, it is much more difficult than it is for us to handle it. But I think too, it's also kind of create your own style. Like you're obviously going to look at the guys at the top right now, and you're kind of going to take, when I did it, when I listened to Anders and Semler, and I even had commentators in other games, StarCraft with Tastosis and everything, and then Deficio was a big one over towards League of Legends. When I listened to them commentate, it was like I like how he made this strategy sound exciting. I'm going to start taking elements of this into my own, and I'm going to use it in a cast, see if I like it, see if it feels good, and eventually you kind of take elements from what other people are doing, and you kind of put your own spin on it. And I think that was always the easiest way for me to kind of improve where I was going, is copy and then kind of adjust it to your own style.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Great. Thank you so
Let's
much.
just hang out the rest of the day. No, we can't.
Unfortunately, we can't. Moses, thank you so much for being here, and I'm
No
sure
problem.
the audience appreciates it really well. And we want to thank you guys for watching here at Predator Prime Talk. And that is it for the first set of the day. Brittany, what's going on?
All right, guys. All of our other shows I have not given away who our guests are for the rest of the day. However, today I'm so excited to tell you that we have Innocent, Isaac, Navarian joining us later. It's going to be a full house while the finals are happening. So make sure you join us later, 6 p.m. If anything changes, follow us on Twitter. We are active all day long. Hang out here at IEM Katowice. I'll see you later.
No, but with that AWP and with a couple players being able to afford AK-47s, they're going to go for it. This is strong enough to make a dent and at least... Oh, what a shot! The run boost through the smoke, and Olaf finds Glaive, and that might be it. That might be the winning hit.
He might even get the double here, not meant to be though, but good trades on both sides.
Back as a result for Fnatic and Twist. He's forced out of the pit by Molotovs and smoke, but he's up for the fight. And not only that, he's going to get GW.
Olaf is pulled over towards mid for the moment, but Nico has been waiting this whole time. He's holding the trigger. He's waiting for more. He's calling this out, and there it is. He thought the one-tap would work, but it doesn't matter. He's getting a second kill, and straight from above, he gets a third.
At this point, recovers the gun, and now he's got a gun. What? What? How has he not been found? Dupree! How'd you get away with it? You are lucky to be alive, my friend, but he does survive with 3.
Momentarily, in they go. One flashbang is all they're going to use, and Golden's able to strike before that even goes off.
Shot again as he slides out from New Box. Not a lot of pressure applied to him, so he can do it for a third time, and he'll make no mistake on that. Bomb down.